Race 2 of the State New Zealand Ocean Swim Series, held in early December, was the Paihia Classic. From New Zealand's first capital, Russell, across the famous stretch of water to one of the great tourism attractions in Paihia. It was Melissa Gorman, the very good Australian, who led the race early. And she would create history that day, becoming the first female athlete, not just to win the women's category, but to win overall. The first male across the line would be young 18-year-old Stefan Talbot out of St Kentigern, who would narrowly hold off one of New Zealand's best triathletes in Graham O'Grady. It was a breakthrough win for young Stefan Talbot, both athletes on the start line today for the Capital Classic. Well, welcome to Wellington for race 3 of the State New Zealand Ocean Swim Series. It is the Capital Classic, and it's been very much built up as the Battle of the Bledisloe. George O'Brien, the Queensland 400-metre champion, looked today to try and upset a very good group of New Zealanders. In the women's race, really, there is only one name. Her name is Melissa Gorman, and she is also an Australian. Today, she looks to try and get herself on the podium overall. But more than 900 competitors taking part across 3 different events. We have the 300 metres, the 1,000 metres, and the main event, the 3.3 kilometres. And let's have a look at today's course map for those competitors taking part in the 3.3k swim. For the last 5 years, it's been a 2.8 kilometre swim, the State Capital Classic. But the event organisers have decided to shake it up, mix it up, and to take in more of Wellington's wonderful sights. It is a deep water start for our competitors in Lambton Harbour. They will start directly in front of Frank Kitts Lagoon. It is a 1.9 kilometre straight swim down to the Jenningham Lighthouse. From there, it's 1.4 kilometres, taking in the fountain and finishing at Freiburg Beach. Today, got some very good New Zealanders on the line, the likes of Kane Radford and Stephen Kent. What are you expecting?
I don't know. I'd like to be up there with them and give them a bit of a race in the end in this cold water, and I'm not really used to it, but I'll see how it goes.
Well, Kane Radford, a very good start to the new year for you. You have qualified for the final qualifying event for the London Olympics, and today I guess you're looking to take things up another step.
Yeah, you know, it's just all about preparation towards the final swim needed for Olympics, so this is just one step to get even closer to that.
Race 2, we saw Melissa Gorman beat all the guys. I think we affectionately call it being chicked. How much motivation with that today?
You know, it is, you know, she's a very classy swimmer. She's up with the top girls in the world, but hopefully, you know, all goes well. Even it'll be a little bit disappointing if I do end up getting beaten by Melissa, even though she is a classy swimmer.
I think it's going to be a little bit tougher today. The start line's a little bit strengthened. We've got Kane Radford, Stephen Kent, George O'Brien. They're all world-class swimmers, so I'm going to try and keep up with them, but it'll definitely be tough.
You find yourself in a group out there, the water's choppy. How do you need to change things up?
Yeah, when the water's choppier, it's always a little bit harder to get into your rhythm, so I find I have to look up every couple of strokes rather than in a normal flatter swim I would only lift my head once every 10 or so strokes. So I did Lake Taupo a couple of weeks ago, a 10k race over there, and it was the choppiest 10k I've ever done. I had a sore neck after the end. I think I looked up that much, but yeah, it's all about just trying to get into a good rhythm and not ruining your stroke too much when you do lift your head.
Moments away from a start in round 3 of the State New Zealand Ocean Swim Series, the State Capital Classic. Our elite men in the green cap and our elite women in the light blue. What a field it is too. Some of the very best from here in New Zealand and across Australia, and we are underway. Joining me in commentary, former New Zealand swimming representative Scott Rice. Wonderful pictures.
Yes, wonderful pictures indeed, Mark. The first of 4 speed-seated start waves making their way out into Lambton Harbour. And of course it is a very tough part of the race, just finding your own space, getting a bit of water on your own and increasing that stroke rate just for the first 1 to 200 metres. And here to tell us a little bit more about that is Cara Baker.
The speed is very important. Going into the pool and actually doing speed work will help us at the start of a race. The start of the race is obviously important to get out in front and to get away from everyone else trying to get the top positions. Throughout the race, obviously you do slow down the pace, your turnover is a little bit slower, but yeah, you do tend to back up the pace. To the beginners, you just want to move away from anyone else so then you don't get hit and don't get hurt at the start. And obviously when you do feel like you're starting to fatigue or tire, you do want to back off the pace a little bit till the end when you know that you have a little bit more energy to finish off the race.
And Cara Baker talking about the importance of the speed off the line, the work done in the pool, and this is a very good field. Kane Radford, the #1 seed out of New Zealand, but the challenge will come from George O'Brien, a very good Australian who has a full time over 400 metres of 3:47, the fastest in this particular event, which means he should be very good at the start, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. He is the Queensland champion over 400 metres and a very accomplished surf lifesaving athlete as well. So at the moment he is leading Radford by about a body length, and Radford, no slug in the water also, and has won this event many times before, knows the conditions, knows the Wellington landscape, and he will not let him get away.
And on the other side of it, George O'Brien will be looking to do everything he can to try and get a gap over this chase group. He realises the benefit of the chase group getting onto his feet or possibly getting alongside of him and using the drag coefficient that goes with open water swimming that can be so effective. It can allow a swimmer in second and third place to conserve a considerable amount of energy.
Well, that looks exactly what Radford is doing right now, just hanging on the feet of O'Brien, but looks like the other side of the course you've got a little group just developing over on the right, and they'll be hoping to get a slightly better line.
And that other group over to the right-hand side features the likes of Stephen Kent, Jonathan Pullum, Casey Glover, Philip Ryan, the big names of open water swimming. No sign yet of Melissa Gorman. She won race 2. She won it overall. She has the ability to get herself on the podium today amongst both the men and the women.
And another look at George O'Brien, that cap just ever so slightly starting to come up the top of his head. That will be annoying him. But he'll be getting used to this chop at the moment. A lot of these swimmers need to just read the chop, maybe look to breathe on the other side to prevent the accidental swallowing of water, and also just riding the top of the swells to see where they need to be swimming.
And open water swimming, very different from pool swimming. Generally a much higher arm turnover. They don't tend to lengthen their strokes as much, and the rougher conditions mean that you do need to adjust accordingly. Another one of the landmarks that regularly visits Wellington Harbour are the cruise ships, and I tell you what, they're probably enjoying a nice champagne breakfast while the best open water swimmers in the world are hurting.
Back to the top end of the field, the #1 green cap of Kane Radford. Very, very talented open water swimmer. He has won this series numerous times over its 6-year history, and he'll be hoping to really exert the pressure on these other elite swimmers. And a look at #5 green cap, Casey Glover, the fastest man to ever swim the Cook Strait in 4 hours and 27 minutes over the 26.2 kilometre distance. A very, very good feat by the local Wellingtonian.
It is a remarkable achievement, that, because of course, Scott, when you go after the Cook Strait records or you want to swim it, you've got to do it in what they call the old budgie smugglers. You've got to do it in speedo, so no wetsuits, which certainly makes it tough. But this is just wonderful artistry we're seeing from these elite swimmers. It's amazing at the front end of any sport just how much time they seem to have.
And a beautiful look at Radford's stroke. Nice, long and loping, and the stroke of an open water swimmer slightly different than a pool swimmer. They know that there's chop, it's a regular. They want to have a nice high recovery to not get caught in those swells.
A first look at Melissa Gorman. She is leading this women's race, and she's now challenging this group of chase men, the 2009 10K world champion, 4th at the Beijing Olympics. A very good swim in race 2 when she made history and won the race overall.
Well, she's already qualified for the London Olympics in the Australian swim team, so that's a little bit of comfort for her. Now just valuable race experience, and we're not getting any better than this, swimming with some of the best elite swimmers, men swimmers in New Zealand. And here's a look, I think it's George O'Brien. I think he's lost his cap, Mark.
And George O'Brien almost looking like he's exchanging the lead with Kane Radford. So he led a lot early on, but he's more than happy at the moment to sit and play the waiting game. Gorman, though, putting the pressure on the likes of Casey Glover, moving herself into 3rd place.
So a Queenslander over here for the 3rd time in about 2 months. She's also going to be gunning for the 800-metre freestyle spot on the Australian Olympic team when she swims the trials in March in Australia. So a very, very talented open water and pool swimmer, Melissa Gorman.
And Melissa Gorman just demonstrating how much the sport of open water swimming is about good technique. Because if this was a running race or a bike race, she would not genuinely be able to challenge the men because of the strength component that governs those particular sports. But as we've alluded to throughout the series, it is a taught sport. It comes down to good technique, and she is doing a fantastic job.
And George O'Brien is also hoping to qualify for the Olympic team over the 1500 metres freestyle. He was telling us before the race this morning, 15:09 he has to do over the 1,500 metres in the pool, and he won't have pool-like conditions out here today in Lambton Harbour. So just starting to creep in front of Radford now. Back and forth, just testing each other out, I'm guessing. We're still early stages of the race, so they want to just be conserving a little bit of energy, and now Radford back on O'Brien's feet.
And this is a look back at the chase group. We've got an age group athlete there in the red cap, so that's a very good swim from that particular competitor. But we will now just pan back and have a look as we see the split, two groups, one out to the right, one out to the left.
Number 10 green here is Ben Campbell-McDonald, a talented swimmer out of Wellington. And behind him is Jonathan Pullen with the sleeveless wetsuit, and just beyond there in the orange goggles is Stefan Talbot, the men's winner of the State Pie Hair Classic a month ago.
And Jonathan Pullen has got a wonderful beard going on. That can't be helping him go through the water. Traditionally, swimmers do like to have a bit of a shave down. Also opting today for a sleeveless wetsuit, just allowing him with a bit of flexibility. Surf Life Saving New Zealand doing a great job out on the water, the official charity of the State New Zealand Ocean Swim Series.
First look at Emma Robinson out of the Capital Swim Club in Wellington, coached by the legend Gary Hurring. And she is trailing Melissa Gorman at the moment. So she's got a little bit of work cut out for herself at the moment.
Well, this is like a pool race at the moment. Kane Radford closest to camera. Outside of him, it is the very good Australian George O'Brien. They will make this 180-degree turn around the Jenningham Lighthouse. They have 1.4 kilometres to swim. Wonderful stuff. Race 3 of the State New Zealand Ocean Swim Series, the Capital Classic.